Okay, if it's good with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start with some of our norms and get those knocked out and out of the way. If you're just joining us, please go ahead and pop in the chat and tell us where you're from. We're very glad you're here. My name is Rachel Hooten. I'm the Director of Marketing for Classkick, and I'm going to get us started today with just some webinar norms so you guys know what to expect. Um, Chat is viewable and chattable to panelists and host, which is me, and we'll be able to see it. Don't worry if you ask us a question, we will respond to you there. However, if you have a question that might be beneficial to the whole group, we ask that you put that question in the Q&A section, and then we'll be able to respond, and everyone will be able to see that answer. And that's the preferred way of asking questions about Classkick so that we can make sure everyone is aware and that everyone is able to see our responses. There will be a survey sent to you guys. I will shoot it in the chat around probably the 30-minute mark so that you guys can have a chance to respond to that survey. We are doing a giveaway, and that will be announced in the email follow-up that you'll receive sometime tomorrow. That'll also include your freebie. Now I'm going to kick it over to Katie and let Katie introduce our speakers and give you a little bit of Classkick background.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Colby. I'm the community coordinator for Classkick. It's a lot of C's, C's and K's. But I just wanted to come on and let you guys know if you're not familiar with Classkick, just kind of give you a quick little intro on what Classkick is. So it's a tool, an ed tech tool for both virtual and in-person teaching. It allows for teachers to use their own curriculum. It's K-12, so it's for any grade level. It's cross-curricular, which is really cool. You can use it for any subject area. It allows for differentiation within your classroom and with your students. And then it's the biggest thing that we love about Classkick is that it is real time and you can watch your students working in real time. It shows you what they're doing, how they're thinking, gives you that visibility and insight into their learning. And then it also gives you the opportunity to provide feedback in real time and give that feedback right away. So we're super excited that you're here and that you're here to learn more about Classkick and what it can do. And we have some guest speakers today. These are two of our coaches from the Classkick Coach Program. They're both classroom teachers. They are working as teachers right now. So they aren't Classkick employees, but they're actual teachers just like you. So I'm super excited to introduce Kristen and Ryan to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and let them take over and kind of introduce themselves a little bit more and tell you further who they are and what they do. And then they'll start showing us some really awesome things. So our session today is called Differentiation Made Simple. So we're going to talk about how you can see student thinking in real time and support every learner with Classkick. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys.
Okay, I'm Kristen. Like Katie said, I'm a Classkick coach. I live in New Jersey. This is my 18th year of teaching middle school math. I mostly teach seventh grade. Um, and I started using Classkick in 2019, the pandemic, whenever that was, a long time ago. And I loved it so much, I kept with it. So this is our 6th year using it.
All right. And my name is Ryan. I am a high school math teacher. I teach in person in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I've been using Classkick, very similar to Kristen, since the pandemic. It was an interesting transition for me when we came back from the pandemic. My students were given the option of whether they wanted to learn in person or if they wanted to learn from home. And if they chose to learn from home, they were being essentially given a live stream into my classroom. And so I was stuck trying to figure out how do I help kids learn math while they're sitting at home. And math is so skill-based that how do I correct a mistake if I can't even see what they're doing? And Classkick gave me that perfect window. And it honestly revolutionized what I was trying to do that year. And then while I was using it, I thought, my word, this is so powerful and so helpful. And it helped kids have agency over their learning, even the kids in my own classroom. And so it became something that I just kind of fell in love with and have used it ever since. And so I'm excited to be able to share some different things with you today. And so with that, I want to share, in the idea of trying to help students learn as well as possible. I'm going to start to share my screen here. I want you to just picture for a moment one of the things that I always loved to do. Is I loved to do board work in my classroom. So I would have students either have individual whiteboards or I'd send them up to the boards that are in my classroom and I'd give them a math problem to do, and they would inevitably start working on it. And you can imagine, if you are a teacher yourself, that there are varying levels of abilities in your classroom. And so I wanted you to imagine just for a second that I have two students who are friends with each other. They're both up at the boards, and we have Sam, Sam is really good at math. He does a really good job. And so I give them a problem and Sam starts working on it. And he's standing next to Johnny. Johnny, he struggles with math a little bit. And so you can imagine Sam just starts doing the question. Johnny is standing there not really sure what to do. And so he may start looking over his shoulder at what Sam is doing. And all of a sudden, Sam's now done with the question. He turns to Johnny and they're now talking about what they're going to do this weekend instead of actually working on the math problem. And all of a sudden, Sam, who probably was ready for a more difficult question, is done. And Johnny, who needs help, is not even really doing the work anymore. And so this is one of the places that I just have loved to be able to use Classkick. And so I want you to, if you're looking at my screen here, one of the things that I love to be able to do with Classkick is I like to create assignments where the assignments can get progressively more difficult. And so you can see this. I just grabbed an example worksheet that I have. The red is the answers if you're curious. And on the worksheet, you can see, even if you're not an algebra guru, you can imagine that the top couple questions don't look nearly as painful to solve as some of the questions towards the bottom. And so what I love to do is I love to give questions like this, where I would make, on Classkick, I would make one question per slide. So this is an example of a 14 question assignment. And I would actually make one slide per question. And then I would be able to, and I actually have it created right here, where I actually have each one of these questions is now on one slide where it has a fill in the blank box that a kid can do their work. And then they would be able to put their answer in there and find out in real time whether or not their answer is correct. Okay. And I can even, I can demonstrate this a little bit. So you can see on my screen here, that black box means that me as the student is on there as well. And you could actually watch me be able to solve this problem. Okay. And if I put my answer in here, I don't actually know if I have, no, I do. So you can now see that I can verify that my answer is correct. So the beauty of it is I have Sam, who is really good at math, and he is going to be able to zip through a lot of these questions quickly. And I'm going to be able to find Johnny, who is struggling a little bit, and I'm going to be able to work individually with him and try to address some of the mistakes that he is making, while all the while Sam is continually being challenged on the questions that on more of his level. And so this is just one idea as you're trying to think through. So rather than me giving board work questions to everybody that meets everybody kind of in the middle, I'm able to tailor what I'm doing to each one of my students and the abilities that they have. Another example of something that I like to do at the end of my Classkick assignments, especially, is give some sort of a challenge assignment or challenge slide where, maybe we had been working on a specific skill, but I have like a little bit of a tricky question that I want them to be able to consider. Again, somebody like Sam, who flies through some of the basic things, he might be challenged by some of these extra types of questions. And so my first idea that I'd love to just share is just making assignments that can get progressively more difficult and adding challenge or extension reflection slides as well. Okay, I do have another example of a reflection slide where I just like to have kids try to explain their thinking in a little bit of a different way as well. Same idea. Okay, my second thing that I wanted to share here is I love when I create assignments, I like to provide supports on my slides. And what I mean by that is if I'm asking kids to write the slope and the y-intercept of the line, then I want them to go graph it. Something that I might do is give them a little boxes here to make sure they know which one is the slope, what's the y-intercept. I sometimes will put these little boxes that have hints on them so that kids can, if they feel stuck, they might be able to know what to do. I also, a lot of times, will attach a link to some sort of a YouTube link or Khan Academy or something on there where I can send kids to get help with how to do a particular question. I've even done it before where I have explained a question and attached a link to a video of myself explaining something And being able to provide those supports can be really, really helpful for students as well. Here's kind of another example of that. Again, I apologize, I'm the math guy, that these are all my math examples here, but so if they were asked to be able to simplify this kind of problem, obviously they're going to put their final answer in this box here, but maybe they're confused, maybe they're getting the answer wrong, and they're not really sure what to do. Well, one of the things that I like to do is put this is a manipulative, okay? And so you have the ability to create manipulatives and put them on slides. And a manipulative is something that a student would actually be capable of moving this box away and be able to see what I have underneath it. So I wrote here, drag the light bulb away for a hint. And so a student could actually physically click and drag this. And I put a hint here. Hey, you need to simplify by distributing the 7x into both terms. Okay. And that might be enough for them to be able to get them going. But maybe somebody's like, still, I'm not really sure what to do. And so rather than just sit there and say, I don't know what to do, I put another one. If you're still stuck, move this graphic to see how it's done. And so I gave them an example here. And maybe I would do that on slide number 1 with the hopes that they would be able to do it on slide number 2 with less and less supports as we go. And so again, these are just different supports that I like to try to put onto the slides. I like to put hints, videos. I like to put these manipulatives that they can drag around. I've even done it before where, like, for certain students, you could even like translate what's on their slide for them if they're not in English, or not, if they're learning something in a different language than I have provided. And so I can do all of those things for individual students. I can also do it for the class as a whole. One other thing that I love to do is I like to place checkpoints on the slides, meaning if I was asking a kid to solve this question, it's kind of a complicated and a long question to be able to do for some students. So rather than just saying, good luck, figure out the whole answer, sometimes I like to help break them down into steps. Okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, and I can provide some supports to them, like, here, let's make sure your answer for part 1 is correct before you even try to keep going. And so again, these are those fill in the blank boxes that allow students to find out, am I correct in the spot of the question that I'm at before I keep trying to do more work, even if my original work is wrong. And so again, just this idea of being able to give them some confidence. I think that's a lot of what we do as teachers, is try to inspire confidence in our students. And sometimes that it's amazing how that little green box turning green is such a confidence builder for so many students. I also have again, just another idea. Here's another hint where, again, if I'm asking them to do something, I can provide these individual check boxes to try to help to make sure that they are understanding what they're able to do. Another thing that you can do that would maybe be of an advantage to help different students learn in the different ways that are helpful to them is you could do a choice board. All right. So what I imagine doing, and I don't have it like it actually worked out perfectly on an actual assignment, but this is how I would imagine it, is you could place this kind of a choice board on slide number 1 of an assignment, where maybe you're telling them they have to pick one activity from each column, and you could describe in each one of these boxes, what they would have to do. And they can circle which ones they're going to do. And then they would actually be able to go to slide 2 and complete that assignment, go to slide 6 to complete that one. And again, it gives students the ability to take ownership in their own learning and to be able to have ideas of how they might want to contribute, show, and demonstrate what they're able to do and what they're able to understand in their own way. So this is all the things I've shown so far are all about how you create assignments. Now I want to just talk about the giving feedback part, which is the best part of Classkick. If all I could do is make assignments, that'd be one thing, but its ability to sometimes automatically give feedback, or for me to give feedback, can be really, really helpful. And so I want to just show some of these different things. My giving feedback idea number 1 is I love to use the view work screen live. So again, I'm an in-person teacher. And so I often will look at the view work screen live. And I actually screen recorded a lesson that I was doing. This is actually quite a while ago that I did this. And I was just trying to give a sense for, as I'm explaining how Classkick works to people, how this actually works. And so you can see here, I've got an assignment that students, it looks like they have started to work on. I'm just going to kind of fast forward. We don't need to sit here and watch a half-hour video. But you can see as they start working, those boxes start turning green. Okay. And so I'm able to look at this and get feedback. So again, like you can kind of imagine some of these students who are stuck back here at the beginning, those are the ones I need to go address. And I want to go spend my time working with those particular students. Meanwhile, I've got other students who are 5 or 6 slides ahead of them, which is okay, because now I'm meeting kids where they're at. But I also want to just show you this. Oh, well, you can even see that. I have a kid who raised their hand because they wanted me to help them with something. So I can give that feedback, or I can go address that as well. Okay. I can also hop onto an individual kid's slide. That's what's happening here. And I can try to address any mistakes that they're making. But I want you to also see this. I'm trying to fast forward to the right spot here. You can kind of see it here that all of a sudden I'm realizing right now, this is, I believe, slide number 6 on the assignment. And you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kids that have a red box. That means we are struggling as a class as a whole with this one particular question. And because I'm looking at this view work screen, I'm able to realize, wait a second, there must be some sort of misunderstanding. And so what I can do, what I often do, is I will lock the assignment so that kids cannot keep working. And I will force them to pay attention to what I'm about to explain to them. And then I will open up slide number 6 and we will talk about it as a class. And that's kind of the process you watch there. And then all of a sudden you can see now all those boxes are now green, except for this guy up here. Not sure what was going on there, but they've all now answered that question because I've realized that, hey, I can help address some of those mistakes. And so all of a sudden, again, over the course of, this was a half an hour or so that we were working, I've got all kinds of different students in all kinds of different spots, being able to kind of help those who need it in certain areas. So that's my one thing. I love that view work screen. View work screen. I use that a lot. But the reality is, not all the time do you use that in the moment. Sometimes you have to use your view work screen later. And so this is actually a real assignment. I teach honors geometry is one of the classes that I teach. And so you'll notice that I have an assignment here that there was work done on slide number 7, but I need to now go and grade slide number 7. Nobody's working on this anymore. But one of the things I love to do is I can go to slide number 7 and I can, instead of saying view all slides, I say, I just want to view slide number 7. So this is literally, sorry if some of you are having nightmares about your honors geometry class, but this is some proofs that they had to do. And I'm now able to see on the whole what these students were doing. I can even quickly go in through here and I could now in that spot, I could say, hey, I know it says 0 points right there, but I could award a certain number of points. Like if I think this is a 5-point question, I could say, yeah, these all look really good. I have a student who chose not to do it, so I can put a 0 in there and I can quickly go and grade these things. You can also, and I won't take too long to do this, but you can also use stickers. Okay, and so you can create your own stickers, but I could say, hey, this one says perfect proof. So I can just go through here and I can click on these student slides and it's awarding them 5 points. It's telling them exactly what it says there, perfect proof, and giving them the ability to do that. Sometimes I'll also even make stickers that have common mistakes and things like that on there as well. And so again, that's a great option that you can use on this screen. You can also use it on the view work screen where you're looking at everybody's work. But again, trying to save time, but also give quality feedback to all of my students. And all of these are examples. I could click on these slides and edit, or I could write on people's slides and give them individual feedback as well. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen and see what she has to share. So let me stop sharing. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. I do have to admit it's weird talking and not seeing anybody. Okay, so what I have for you is kind of a side-by-side of my assignment over here and then a note sheet that I do. I'm also in person, but sometimes I don't have them go on the computer as much and they kind of follow along with me with my slides and my note taking. So I like this because if there's a student absent, as you can see, this person is absent, so they haven't opened the slides at all. These are all this gray color. But then if I go into the assignment, of course, it's a little weird when it's not full screen. So if I go into my assignment, right? This is obviously if the student's absent, they're not there to see the answers, when we go over it in class. So they'll know if they put in something here, right? And they type circle, it would be correct. So I saw on the chat, someone was asking about how to do this. So if you look up here, and add fill in the blank, so you would just click that and then you would just drag it and that's it. So then you would just add whatever your acceptable answers are. The tricky part is it does have to be exactly how you put it. They do have a STEM option as well um, for you, for the kids. Obviously, we can't see it, but for the kids to use. So here is kind of my vocab section. So again, I'm always thinking like if students are absent or in school suspension or anything like that. So I made these text boxes that are just fill in blank and then I can move them. And then what I usually do is when we're going through it in class, I highlight, what they need to fill in those definitions there, right? Um, and then on the student's end of this, so you can see it's all real time. So if I go to this screen and move this block back here, the student would see it over here. So if I made a mistake in the definition, right, and this should have been 2, you can see in the student it changes real time. You don't have to re-download or anything like that, which is really nice. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to show you is this screen. So if you go to the view work section, this is kind of what Ryan was showing a little bit about. You can see, right, this student is getting some wrong. This student didn't even try that. So if they get to this screen and say someone's having a problem with it, and I'm on the computer, I made these stickers, right? And I already had one I uploaded a review. So this one would just be a review vocab. I would stick that on this student. And then going back to here, it shows Mrs. Johnson gave feedback on slide 3. So if I go to slide 3, right, here's my sticker and it would say review vocab on, if this was full screen, on slide 2. Let's see. There it is on slide 2. So again, nobody else would know that I'm doing that. No one else would know they got these wrong, which is, another great differentiation tool. Also, if you go way down here to slide 13, I used this cover tool, which pretty much blacks it out. So if I go to slide 13 on the student's end, you'll see it being blacked out. So no one has access to this. So in my mind, if this person here got all these questions right, then they know what they're doing. They're ready to move on. I'm going to open that slide. And as you can see over here, it opened for them. But all these other students are still black. So this gives them an opportunity, to go a step further, make that challenge question like Ryan was talking about, without anyone knowing, oh, this person's way ahead of me and I'm going to give up kind of thing. What else? What else on here? I think that was it for this one. So then, because this is weird with the sharing screen. Okay, so now I have another one because enough math, right? I know everybody's probably have a headache with math. So I have an ELA example here. So what I did is I took an excerpt from Ghost. I think Ghost, yeah, Ghost. And I had it come up with a different, well, the same excerpt at, oh geez, listen to me. This one is in 7th grade reading level, and then this one is in a 5th grade reading level, right? Because we all have different reading levels in your class. So instead of making, 15 versions of all different assignments, I can make one version, right, that has 2 different levels. And then when I go to my view work, I can cover, I know this one's on a 5th grade level, so I'm going to cover the 7th grade level reading and questions. So when they go on the screen, they're only looking at what they are supposed to. And that's what I have here. So this person can only look, you can see these are all black, right? So this person is only going to answer these questions. And I did the same thing with the questions. They are seventh grade questions. And I put the answer here so I knew the answer because I'm not an ELA person, right? But if you wanted, we talked about the fill in the blanks. If you wanted to make a multiple choice, right, there's this button up here. You pick whatever your answer is. I only have 4 choices, so I can delete this choice. If you want to make it points, you can make those points down here. And then just hit save. And then it's here, right? Obviously, I would get rid of the answer over here. And then if we go look at the student version, here it is here, right? So they would click the answer, and I don't have it turned on for them, so they wouldn't know if they're right or wrong, right? Which would prevent them from just clicking until they see a green circle, right? They don't want that. But on my end, they would, right? Here it is, right? So it'd be green. Okay, if it was wrong, right, I hit A, you can see it turned A instantly. So that makes it very easy. I know sometimes, let me go back to this one. If you wanted to, no, I'm not in cover anymore. If I wanted to write something, um, you know, like sometimes I use my iPad and I just say like, look at vocab, right? Or whatever it is, right? So that everybody would see if I went to view work and just wanted to tell this person, you know, something, right? Then I could type something and they would only see that. No one else would see it. So again, that differentiation is very helpful. Um, so I had a science example too. So here is a science example I did. I just pulled this off, and Ryan mentioned this a little bit as well with the manipulatives. So it's best and easiest, I think, to get a big picture of what you want to manipulate. Right, so I have all these screenshots of things I use a lot. So here's that review one I did, but here's the butterfly one. So I took a screenshot of that, I opened that up, and now the whole thing is here. So now if I say wanted to do this, I could just do that, hit next, and then instead of finishing, I want to add another one. So then I can add another one, right? You get the idea here. And then I hit finish, right? So now these, just like these, become manipulatives where the students can move them, right? So if I go back to my, oh, of course, because I blacked mine out. Hold on. Here we are. Right, so if I unblack that one, and you can see this is real time, right? That's what teaching's all about, on the fly, figuring it out while everybody's yelling at you, right? So if we go back, see, so this is the student view, right? So the student has access to moving all of these different manipulatives. So I thought, hey, like if you have a person that's low or has, some accommodations that they need different things, they could have these choices here. And then say, I want everyone else to figure out the names on their own. I could copy this slide so I don't have to redo it. Hit the plus sign, hit paste. And sometimes it does that. And you'll see I get it back, right? But now I don't want to use these manipulatives, so I'm just going to delete all of them, right? Oh, geez. Delete all of them. And then instead, I want them to be able to fill in whatever this step is, right? Whatever, whatever the answer is, you're going to type in there. And this way, again, it differentiates. You could black out, which one they need to do, and which one, oh, there we go, which ones other students need to do. So remember, I think part of it is right, differentiation isn't knowing what it is, it's finding time to do it all. So I think Classkick really helps in that situation because like I just showed, you can, make one assignment and just black out different cover or different slides and do it all in one thing. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So I can stop sharing.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. That was so, so helpful. I really loved hearing from both of you and your perspectives and how you have used Classkick. We're going to spend the rest of our time just doing a little Q&A. So Rachel has put the form, the survey link in the chat. So go ahead and do that survey. And then if you need to hop, you sure can. But if you want to stay for the Q&A and learn a little bit more from these guys with the questions that we get, we would love that too. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you do leave, we're very glad that you were here for this one, and we hope that you come back for the next ones. There are still 4 more left in this series, and they're all Tuesdays at the same time. So please come back for that, the next ones. All right, we'll go ahead and do a couple of these questions. I see one that was asked, and I think this one was for Ryan. What did you click to pull up all of the boxes with the data? So I think she's talking about where you saw just like the smaller boxes and all the
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I saw that question. I'll kind of just talk about this. Again, this is literally what you're looking at is an assignment that my kids have for homework tonight. So you'll see some have already completed it and others still have some work to do. And what I'm looking at here, so if across the top here, you're seeing the different things that you can look at. So the edit is where you can actually edit the questions that are actually on your slides. So after you assign it, so I have assigned it to my period 4 spring roster. After you assign it, then when you click the view work, you're going to see all of these. I have the names, which by the way is a really cool feature that you can hide the names. I love that because sometimes I want to show, especially in math, I love to show kids work that's wrong. And then we talk about why it's wrong. But I also don't want to make fun of the kid for having a wrong answer. And so if you didn't know that, that's a filters. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but that is hide student names. If I toggled that back off, you get to see all the names of my kids that are in my class. But again, so that's why it's hidden like that. But if you're wondering, there is this box here. I love it when they're shrunk down, like what I can see right now. If I unclick this, you're going to get a picture of kind of the more traditional, I guess I would say, the default way the view work screen looks. To me, sometimes this feels overwhelming to see so many boxes, and it's hard to, like, I can zoom in and see what's going on some of these slides, but I like that. Like, I try to put one question per slide. That way, when I'm looking at the data, I'm getting good data on each individual question that I'm asking. And so when I shrink the thumbnails, again, I can now see what looks to me like I'm seeing like slide number 7. I got a couple kids who tried something, couldn't get it right. And so that's probably, and you can even see the percentages that are up here at the top. So it's giving me a clue that like, hey, tomorrow when we talk about homework, we probably need to talk about question number 7. Yeah, and so that's kind of this view work screen and how you get there and the different ways that you can use some of these filters to shrink it down or not. And yeah, hopefully that helps to answer that question.
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. I think there was a couple more questions here. Is there a way to have a multiple answer choice question on one slide and it appear right or wrong in the same slide without clicking on the student? I think yes. I'm trying to think of what that means. I think it means like if there's a multiple choice question on the slide, um, can you see it without having to go in? And that would pretty much just be, I think the answer to that would be that you'd have to put it up at the top. of the page because the View Work tab shows like that, I don't know, the top third or so of your page. So I would just have your multiple choice. Yeah, several questions in the same slide is what he said. Several questions in the same slide.
So I don't, maybe I'm answering it, maybe I'm not, but you can certainly, like, I can look at this very first slide that I have. There are multiple, let me get to there again. There's multiple boxes that I have fill in the blank boxes that are on here. And I certainly could have added multiple choice questions on here. You can put as many boxes, honestly, as you want. And those boxes you can have multiple answers to them. I think what Katie was describing is if I unshrink these thumbnails and if I zoom in far enough, you can kind of start to see some of these answers here. I also will go again and say, if you click this view all slides and pick a particular slide, you get a much larger view of everybody's slide. And so you can certainly then just go through and see everybody's and what they've said, and whether it's multiple choice, fill in the blanks, just things you need to grade by hand, whatever it might be, you can kind of start to see all of those things from there. Hopefully that somewhat helps to answer that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just did one too from my one I had. So if you see here, like I just added another multiple choice here. So you can see they're both red. But kind of like Katie was saying, I guess if there was more below below the screen, you'd have a tougher time.
My guess is what he's asking is in that corner where it has A,
Oh,
that's the answer that the first one
Oh,
says.
yes.
That's what I
Yep.
think that's being asked. And I think
Yep.
that's just
oh,
whatever the first box or the first multiple choice you
you're
put on
right.
there, that is that one thing, which is again to me why I love doing one question per
Yeah.
slide,
Yeah.
because that feedback then
Yeah.
is right there. So that would be my suggestion there.
It does also show you the points. So if each one of yours is worth points or worth a point, you can pretty quickly see, oh, they have three of the five, or they have four out of five, correct on the slide. Awesome. Okay. Another question here that I will go ahead and take. I'm super excited about this question. Sherry is asking, does Classkick have a professional development section? I yet never used it, but would love to learn how. I need to practice and use Classkick. Yes, Sherry, we would love to teach you. So you can go to classkick.com/PD. That will lead you right to our Calendly link, which has PD sessions. If your school purchases Classkick Pro for the school, either school or district, you have access to PD, like full PD sessions. If not, that's okay. There's still an option for you. There's a one-on-one help and support call. So the one-on-one one is for anyone who has basic or paid version of Classkick, whether you're new or you've used it for years, you can access that. So that one-on-one is great. You just book a time when works for you and your schedule, and then one of our coaches or myself will hop on with you and we can answer your questions, do a quick walkthrough. It's super helpful to just see it and see how it works. So just head to classkick.com/PD and it's really easy to schedule your own. All right. Angela asks, can the scores from slides transfer to Canvas automatically? That's a great question, Angela. It would depend. That is a feature in our pro versions for schools and districts. And that is a feature where we can have the grades. It's called a grade passback, and we have the grades sync to your LMS system. So that's just available for pro school and district accounts. So if you're in one, definitely let us know if you want help setting that up. You can also go to classkick.com/PD and you can book a call, either one of those support calls or just a call with me. Mine is on there as well, and then we can get you set up with that. All right. Let's see here. Do you add your students in individually or do you copy and paste from school rosters? Okay. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that, Sherry. This would be a good one for you to book a call with someone because we can walk you through how to do it for your specific school. If your school is pro, then we can do it one certain way. And if it's not and you're just doing it on your own, there's a different way to do it. When you're doing it as portfolio students, you can upload them all at once, and that we can show you how to do that. Yeah, awesome. Yay. All right, I think we got all of those questions answered. Any other questions that you guys have for us for our panel here? They did such a great job. Oh, I think I just saw one pop up. I have students that should log in as a portfolio and then they forget how to log in and it messes up my roster. Oh no. Okay, Ryan or Kristen, can you show them how to handle that, how to lock that roster?
I can. Um, yeah, so I've definitely been there, where you like to kind of go back to the last question. I don't know exactly what the how the question was being asked, but a lot of times what I do, and I have obviously have a pro account, is on the very first day of school, I'll give them this class code, and that the kids, I tell them to log into their account first, and then they can just add this code, and it will log them into my all of my assignments that I'll give them, so that they just have to log in one time and they have access to everything. Um, yeah, and so that's kind of that. Now, if you're doing this and you're in some sort of a roster, okay, one of the things that you can do, so all I just did is I went back to the main screen of Classkick. I clicked on rosters and co-teachers on the side, and I'm choosing whichever roster you're having the problem with. Okay, you can see the different students that you have in here. But if you look up here, I think it's up here. Yeah, in the top right-hand corner, okay, there's these three dots that has an option here that says lock options. And so if you click on that, there are two different things that you can do. The lock this roster, I think, is what you're really looking for. So this prevents students who are not on the roster from logging in. And so if you give a code out and their kid's not logged in, or so this will stop once you have everybody in your roster that you want. You can click this and say lock it. That way, only people who are already in your roster can actually access it. Anybody who else that tries to access it, I forget what it says, but I think it just says like the roster is locked and you can't do it, something like that. But it will stop the duplicate accounts, which is super helpful. And I would say once you get the roster right, go back and delete all those old names that you don't want in there anymore to help clean it up, because that is annoying when there's lots of accounts for one kid. And then the other one here is the single device. It just makes that you can only the kid can only log in from one device at a time, and it will stop them if they're logged in somewhere else. And so that again is just if you go to the main screen on Classkick, go to rosters and co-teachers. Pick your roster that you're having problems with, and then the three dots up in the top right corner, lock options, and you can take care of that.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right. We have another one here. Can you show how to do peer sharing? What does that look like? Peer work. So that would be like the peer helpers, I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I'll just say peer helpers. I don't use it a ton. I guess I'm always scared of, I don't know what my high school kids, they're going to hop on somebody else's slide and who knows what they're going to say. But all that you're doing is you're going into some particular assignment and then you can turn on the peer helpers toggle switch here. So if I'm on something and I toggle this on, what happens, and Katie, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't really use this a lot, is then when a kid raises their hand that they have a question, a student would be able to hop on their screen and potentially be able to help them to be able to do it if you do that. Am I saying that right, Katie?
Yep, you're right. Yep.
So I will give a little, I don't know exactly what the question was, like what the point of the question was, but I've also done it before where if you actually, now you can't, we just talked about locking the roster, you would have to not lock the roster or I guess you'd have to not do single device login. But I've done it before where I've given the kids a class code like this, and then I tell them like you're going to be group one, and so everybody actually types in group one as their name, and then when they actually log in with the same name, they're actually working on the exact same slides, and so you can actually almost do group work while you're not even together by actually logging onto the same thing. And so I back when we were stuck at home for different portions of the pandemic, I did things like that, which I found like it was almost like you were in person doing it with a classmate, but you weren't at the same time. And so that was, I don't know if that's what the peer thought was as well, but that's another way that you could do.
Yay, good. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, somebody asked if they have to raise their hand, and yes, that is how they help each other. So, if someone needs help, they raise their hand, and then the other students can go in. What it does is it shows them somebody needs help on slide 5, and then they can just click that, and it will take them right to that person's slide 5, and they can just give feedback and help right there on their page. And then there's a button for the student who's receiving help where they can click it and it will erase all of the feedback. So maybe they figured it out and they're done with the feedback, they can just click a button and it makes it go away. And they can click it again if they need it back and it pops it all back. So it's pretty cool. It toggles on and off the feedback for the student. And the student who is asking for help is anonymous. So it gives them that alliterative anonymous name. And then the student that's going to help, I believe, is not anonymous. I think that that student, it says who they are. So then the kid who got help could say, hey, you just helped me, right, if they wanted to. So it's pretty cool. All right, I think we answered all of these. Let me just make sure. Looks like it. And it looks like we're right on time, so that's perfect. Thank you guys so much. This was awesome. It was just so great to see how you guys use Classkick and just how much it has helped you guys in your own classrooms and your own teaching and with your students. So thank you guys for being here. We have that survey link in the chat, so please make sure you click that and give us some feedback on this webinar and how you think it went. And we would just love some feedback from all of you. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here and have a great rest of your week. We hope to see you next week. Bye, everybody.